Okay, hello. First of all, thank you to Albert Robinson, sorry. I'm in Kansas City. I had a death in the family, essentially, and so I'm presenting from Kansas City, and I really am glad Helene, my coworker, is here with me. So I started at Bronx Community College in January 2025, and my second interview with the provost revealed a really big trend, which is that AI is disruptive to higher education, which most of you all in the room know this. I then, when I got the job in January, started to learn about AI and became convinced that it's important for our students to have ethically focused AI literacy training. So my goal has been that our BCC students will be both competitive in the job market and not found on what I'm saying are kind of the extremes of this AI literacy debate or spectrum. So there are students that are using it without any awareness, right, of these risks that they have when they use it. But there's also the students on the other side that are either too scared to use it or resisting it due to environmental concerns, which are very valid. So we're addressing these two extremes by both teaching about the most important risks and then including practical activities that will focus on ways to minimize these risks. Now, the environmental piece is a little harder to do in this environment, which we will get to that in a second. But the course is also, for anyone interested, it is also an open educational resource. And so I'm, asking people if they're interested to contact me if you want to collaborate in what I consider a very important work on our campuses.
And hello, everybody. My name is Helene Kenny. I'm an adjunct of reference and instruction library here at the library. And I just want to applaud Jana. Jana has been the wonderful go-guide when it comes to maintaining AI literacy within the library. And as an adjunct, I've just been assisting Jana in making sure that the students at this community college are engaging with AI, not uncritically. One of the things that it helped me sort of get into learning how AI works and, talking about the future of AI is just noticing how when it came out, everybody kind of started using it without really understanding how it works and like who is behind it, what the mechanisms are. And so I just want to create an environment where students are engaging with these types of technologies critically and not without thinking about sort of consequences. And Jana has been very wonderful in piloting this program. So I just want to highlight Jana here. And I am going to be helping her present today, but the majority of the work that you see here today is done by our wonderful library. Okay. So I will switch over to the presentation now. Okay.
We're on slide 3 now.
Welcome, everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Jana, would you like to go over the objectives?
Sure. So this is our first objective, actually, that we're going to do just in a second, which we want everybody to think about current AI initiatives on their campus or ones that they're hoping to start. That's one of our objectives. Also, we're going to critique different priorities within AI literacy and who's responsible for even teaching this literacy to the students. We're going to demo the student AI microcourse, and then we're reflecting at the end. And so we are trying to get this to be an interactive conference. It's been the objective of our leaders of this conference.
Okay, so to be clear, everybody here is from different CUNY campuses, so we just want to gain some information from you about what your current campus is doing about AI. And who is leading these efforts. So feel free to shout out what campus you come from and what is going on with AI on campus, like what initiatives are happening. Anyone?
I'll go.
Yes.
So I'm John Luke from Community College, and there's a lot of different things happening. So not only is it happening on the local level where individual professors are doing things, but also followed by AI working group. And there's a AI innovation preparing too, where people across campus work in practice and coming together and sharing that information layer on. So those are two things off the top of my head. College has also long had a chat bot on a lot of the websites so students can interact that way. And of course, QEY, we have the Microsoft Copilots. So those are all things happening at our campus. I'm sure there's more, but that's what's coming to mind.
Wonderful. Amazing. Anyone else?
Yes. And I'm at BCC for those chat. I'm actually most of our AI initiatives that focus on how to integrate our campus. And I've been part of the interest group. That's just mostly what the conversation was about. I'm hoping in campus will do, what I would like to do is take a step back and really think about the larger picture. Like you said in your introduction, what is AI, who's involved, so what was then before you start engaging.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever flip channel or share any hopes or what you want to see in a future AI initiative on campus? Yes, I'm from the central office, but I did have to be college for my undergrad, and I'm funding good for how part of VA. I think if a feature or program had just they had course or two, just like show students this how you use it in your discipline and how it's effective to you and like what value you did like for your career, that would be helpful because you want to change things so fast. So like and some like look you want to become an expert is to know what's going on. Thank you, pretty
Wonderful.
great. Thank you. Okay, so yeah.
And yeah. Oh, I was just going to say on BCC, we do have an AI policy group. We have the AI faculty interest group. I'm doing and have been doing for the past year the AI workshops in the library, but then now we have this Brightspace pilot, which is the show and tell kind of for today that we're doing. We do have kind of based on Hunter's AI camp, we're doing an AI faculty summer seminar. So for those of you here, it's going to be emailed out to our faculty that there's an opportunity to even get compensation, which isn't always the case when we're learning about AI, but that's happening June 8th through the 11th this year. All right. And so next, I'm just going to talk a little bit. I already said that when I had my second interview, the provost was saying it was important. So I started learning about it. And on the right of this screen is one of the things I came and saw at first that I was really excited about because I didn't really understand what AI literacy was, right? And there are definitely different definitions. But this triangle on the right shows you kind of from the bottom up what EDUCAUSE, which is one of the organizations I was looking at, was saying you should do, right? You should have people understanding what AI is, so that technical knowledge and the terminology. Then the second tier is to use and apply it. And the third tier, as you see, says analyze and then evaluate it. And then the fourth tier, which I have not gotten to a lot myself even, but that is when you're creating, your own custom agents, you're creating your own LLMs, etc. Now, I do want to point out that in this course, I am very focused on the understanding AI and the analyze and evaluate it. That's kind of, to me, the really ethical core. But I also know that as we're teaching the students how to evaluate it, it needs to be a practical activity. So you will see in this course that we are using and applying it in these activities, but we're also setting the guardrails before we just tell them to go out and use it and apply it. So then on the left, just one of the many AI literacy definitions is that AI literacy is defined as the ability to understand how the systems work. That's that bottom level. Evaluate their outputs critically. That's the third level, right? And then use them ethically, which that's what I feel we've tried to set up here. It's not necessarily part of the pyramid, but that is very important to me. And as far as the handouts, before I talk more on this slide, the handout that says resource list does have a lot of the materials that I used when I first was researching this. And then I've added new things as well. So like the first two things are materials that I have actually put together on a library guide, and it includes the website you're looking at. And then also the rest of that resource list has like the part that I was just talking about, I think from EDUCAUSE, and some other things that I really would highly recommend you looking at. And as librarians love to give out resources. So thus you're getting these lovely resources. And so yeah, the first thing we did, if you want to go to the next slide, is we started, I say we, but I was starting to learn about AI, and I put together a workshop. So as the instructional design librarian, I wanted to start creating things. I think a lot of us do learn by creating something. So this was our first attempt to help students learn about AI literacy. And the 4 objectives, as it says, were to explain the technology and how it differs from Google and library databases, to practice transparency, which includes the citations and acknowledgments that librarians have done for a while, and recognizing and minimizing 3 risks. And that we can talk about here in a second, what risks those were that I determined were important to talk about the most. And then creating meaningful prompts in the tool. And Helene's going to talk about kind of how this morphed from our first semester into like this spring semester.
Yes, so last year at around this time, we were actually presenting at the last Bronx EdTech Showcase about a series of workshops that we put on about ethical AI usage, and so that students and faculty too could learn more about how they work and how to integrate them ethically into a curriculum, so that we can have guardrails against certain things like plagiarism or cognitive offloading. So we put on a couple of these workshops over the course of the semester, and each workshop lasted about an hour and 45 minutes. And we had some great interest, but the problem was that because it's such a dense and ever-changing topic, we would spend a lot of time trying to get through some very basic things, and we wouldn't really be able to talk about a lot of the inherent risks of using AI or a lot of the ethical issues. And so it just became very clear as the semester went on, then a workshop was a great starting point, but we needed to really expand on it so that we could get to the issues that students and faculty really care about, which is using it effectively, using it responsibly, and making sure that you're guarding against some very serious risks when it comes to AI usage. So over the course of the semester, Jana has been piloting this AI micro course on Brightspace, which is a much more long form way for students and faculty to learn about AI usage and the different issues associated with it. And we've had great responses so far. And we will be going over a little bit about what the micro course is going over and what it's focusing on, and how the more long form course can help students actually gain like a much more grounded understanding of what AI is.
Well said, Helene. And we are going to do another activity. And if I can introduce it just real briefly, there is another handout that you have. So this has been a handout that I've shown to our faculty on campus. And I'm trying to get feedback from faculty, because faculty are the ones that have more leverage, right, to get students to take something like this. So we're trying to make sure that this course is packaged in a way that the faculty feel very good about what's being presented. So this is a first step, especially if you're a librarian and you're trying to get buy-in, right? But we wanted to have a discussion based on this handout. So if you find the right handout, it's saying AI literacy priorities in academia. And then I'm handing it off to Helene to moderate. Oh wait, I gotta actually get the Menti. Is it on? Sorry, just one moment. That's my big thing, is I'm supposed to have this up for you all.
You'll need to share your screen.
Just give me one moment, everybody. I want to actually undo the presentation that we were practicing on before you walked in. And I need to have everybody just look at that while I am clearing results, confirming that I'm clearing the results. And okay, I have now started it. And am I supposed to be, I think I'm supposed to be doing the Zoom now.
So we're gonna just collect some data from you all, if that is okay. If you wouldn't mind going to this QR code or going to menti.com and then plug in those numbers. And then we'll ask you a series of 3 questions. And those questions we are going to are just valuable for us in general so that we can learn how to make our Brightspace course better. But anyway, Jenna, want to share your screen, please?
And though we are collecting data, I actually want you to think through this for your campus. Like, we're wanting this to be really practical. And I really believe this is a big part of you starting to create something. You have to really grapple with, what are you going to do? Because it is an overwhelming amount of information. And as we decided, we are not focusing on environmental risks in this course. On the actual handout, though, it does give you an option to weigh in. So if, for instance, I got a lot of feedback from at least our campus that everybody wanted that covered, then maybe I would consider, switching out the course. But let's see here if anybody has answered.
In the website. Okay. All right. So I'll switch to.
Are you all seeing that? I need to make sure that I know I hit return. Has anybody actually gotten online yet? Or is it not working?
People have already submitted.
Oh, they have. Okay. So I'm waiting for participants. Why is that? Helene, we practiced this, didn't we? I'm going to preview again or start it again. And if you submitted, it is possible you submitted before I got on there. Darn it. Does anybody want to just share what they submitted while I'm... Yeah, I'm supposed to be doing instant responses. You all don't know, but we spent 20 minutes trying to troubleshoot this before you came in. But the backup is obviously we have a page we can. Oh, one person, 01 responded.
Okay. Anybody just wants to start like shouting out, but it's you the one that can't see them there. Academic integrity, risks is so there you go back. All right, it's updating finally.
Finally. Okay.
Risks and impact, practice and usage, technology and terms, AI resilient skills and career preparation, and academic integrity.
That might be based on one person, just so you know. You could be the one we're talking about right now. So this is interesting. I have found that, well, I can share this later, but the technology and terms are actually not as much of a chosen like category for the students as they're giving me feedback on what was in the course. So, all right, I'm going to move on to the next slide because we don't want to take too much time with this, but you can now just type in what topics, right? We talked about hallucinations with the Jeopardy game as people were coming in. What things do you feel are 3 important things to cover? And if you're a classroom teacher, then this is obviously, to me, what you should be, even in small ways, mentioning to your class, but that's another issue. But kind of figuring out that, again, is part of your first step in starting to promote AI literacy is deciding these things.
Not changing on our.
It is just not changing.
Okay. Well, we can collect data by after class. It's not working. So should we?
If it's not working, it's not working. And I am 500-600 miles away, so it very well could be that that's why it's a little slow on the draw.
Oh, can we move on it?
Yeah. And then this was just a short answer. And on the back of that page, again, like, who should be teaching AI literacy? Have you decided that at your campus? And I personally think that all of us are doing this in different ways, potentially as the ideal. So my ideal is that all of us are thinking about ways that we feel we can contribute, but I know that teachers are classroom teachers, as the librarians call them, are overwhelmed, right? Just adjusting your classes to be more AI resilient type assignments, etc., or integrating it. But that's the question here, is what ideas do you all have for the best way to do this? Oh, something came in. Hey, multiple points of contact. That's actually, yeah, what I was just saying.
Yeah, I think in the interest of time, we should move on to.
I agree. I totally agree. So I'm going to end my sharing, and you can take back the screen.
Thank you.
And so the next thing I think is me. So I just showed that was what I was just saying. I feel like the AI resistant people, or however you want to call yourself, should be talking about the environment, and having, at least at BCC, we had a special group of people who are talking about data centers and their being thrown into lower income neighborhoods. That was really interesting. So yeah, that integrated approach. I like all of us kind of finding our niche within this effort. Going on to the pilot. So in light of time, I'm going to try to make this fast. You do have this as a handout, so that's the plus. But I had to get an informed consent from the students, and it took a little bit longer to start the pilot because of that. But I went out and I went to about 8 different faculty classrooms, and I introduced this. I had the handout that you have on the sheet. And from there, the students have to fill out the first IRB, then they take a pre-test. But this tells you the different modules on this page. So if you're seeing the next part of the presentation, you don't have to jot all those module names down, but these are the modules we're covering. And so I went to classrooms. Most of the teachers were offering extra credit, and I then had to keep it, though, private. So if the students don't complete it, I'm not going to tell the teachers they didn't complete it. I'm only going to tell the teachers, because this is anonymous participation. I'm only going to tell the teachers if the students say, yes, I completed it. Can you tell my teacher? But yeah, there's ways to basically help get this more exciting to the students, and they do get a certificate of completion at the end. Why don't you move on? And then, because again, I am doing this instructional design as my focus in the library, I'm just very grateful for our cartoonist in residence at the library, Robert Leibowitz, who has helped me kind of come up with some scenarios that show students that are making decisions about AI. And then secondly, I have used Google Notebook LM to create audio podcasts at the introduction of each module. I have not used a lot of AI besides that, by the way, and every time I do use it, I post underneath very few things, but I will post, how I used it. And there are H5P interactive content, little tools that you can interact with, which, yes, those are somewhat not accessible, but I'm trying to repeat the information otherwise in that slide. And there are 2 tutorials that are more interactive, which is good. It's a good start, at least. And then there are the activities that students can print off a piece of paper and they can do the activity, but they're getting graded for the activity because they discuss what they learned in the activity, which has been wonderful for me as an observer or as the teacher, really, because I can actually see if they're getting it in those discussion posts. So those of you that teach online, I've really loved the discussions. I guess some of you all might resonate with that. And I think that's it. Oh, except the scenario-based learning that's focusing on practical questions and the ethical risks.
Okay, so as Jana was working on this Brightspace course, she kind of brought me into the fold to be her guinea pig. So I acted as a student, and I was like, okay, let's pretend I don't know anything about AI. So I went on and I took the course. And what's really wonderful is we do have a cartoonist in residence who did all of these cartoons by hand, which I think is pretty great, considering, like, you can just do it with AI now, but there are people who actually want to do it, like, it's their passion. So we have 2 characters, Sam and Abby, who are the people who follow us through the course. And the way that these 2 characters interact with AI is kind of opposite. And we like to highlight how the different ways that they use AI as students leads them on totally different paths in their academic careers. So in this micro lesson 1, we are talking a lot about academic integrity and your role as a student. So as you can see, Sam is very busy. He works a lot, but he still finds the time to work on his paper, even during really busy moments. Effie is the same way. She works a lot, but she is not, working on her paper when she should be, and is probably going to use AI to do quite a bit of her work as time management. So we're trying to take a very empathetic approach here. We understand people want to use AI in a very easy way. Life is really hard. It's tough, but you also have to be engaging. You can't just be using it mindlessly. So we want people to be valuing learning and committing to their role as a student, getting their minds work, understanding the benefits of academic integrity and what academic integrity means, and to practice transparency and acknowledge the use of AI in every scenario. So we have an academic integrity and AI tutorial included in this micro lesson, this first micro lesson, but I can't demo everything for you in the interest of time. So I'll just move on.
Yeah, we actually have about 6 minutes, but I do have to say one of your handouts is a solution I came up with in looking at lots of citation styles. Please, again, contact me. I'd like to talk about this, especially with the librarians who sometimes get tossed the helper role in helping students, cite their sources. But we do have to really hustle. Thank you, though, for
I'll just get through as much as I possibly can. This micro lesson 2 is talking about the black box nature of AI and how we don't really know how it works. It just kind of comes out and it's magical, and so people will just just use it without really understanding what's actually going on through the processes. So we explain the basic technology, including what it's trained on and how it uses statistical pattern prediction. So it's not an actual intelligent being, it's using statistical pattern prediction and data as we need it. And then we distinguish between Gen AI, Google, and library databases, which is very important, especially as librarians, we really would be hyping up those databases. And then we engage with social media and AI tools in order to minimize the risk of addiction. So again, another lovely hand-picked cartoon. The third micro lesson is the importance of context and constraints and structured prompts, and to know how to create really good structured prompts so that you can get the best possible results if you're going to use AI. So in this scenario, Sam is using a structured prompt in order to figure out what the best height would be outside of the city. And, he gets to see a beautiful waterfall because his prompt was talking about exactly what he wanted to get out of this. And so we are trying to introduce guardrails here to minimize echo chambers and hallucinations. And we talk about fact checking process to evaluate your Gen AI output. And then in the micro lesson 4, we're talking about cognitive offloading, and we're introducing this idea called being the student in the loop. So as you can see, we have this cute little metaphor going on where Sam is using AI as a healthy ingredient in a nice little recipe, whereas Effie is just like, oh God, I don't have time. I'm just going to go to the vending machine and get me an AI writing paper. And so it's kind of like AI, if you use it incorrectly, is kind of the junk food for your brain, So once again, thank you, Robert, for this cartoon. And we talk about the AI hub and possible uses, AI usage for pedagogical integrations into the classroom. We'll be valuing the human in the loop in order to minimize cognitive offloading. And we also talk a little bit about intellectual property violations. And we talk, we have an activity in Gemini to be a student in the loop. So we are trying to have them actually practically use these skills by engaging with AI and using these prompting frameworks. And lastly, we have micro lesson 5, where we talk about AI resilient skills and career preparation. So we talk about strengthening skills that come naturally and learning more about AI to enhance others. And we learn about popular AI tools used in the future field and consider creating an online portfolio of your AI usage. And yeah, we have you know, two students at laptops with a Gemini box seated between them as they study, you know? Anyway.
Can I suggest that I do the next slide and then we see if anybody has questions and then we fill up the rest of the time with the actual, is that good? Yeah. So I'm just wanting to point out the statistical piece that we have so far in the last 3 weeks since people have been able to sign up. We have gotten some really good feedback, useful and surprising. So the students are saying they're staying involved in their thinking. It's more interesting and practical than I expected. That was one of my favorite ones. Focused on how to use AI in a responsible, effective way, especially in school settings. So we have, if you want to click through the bullets, we have had 40 learners and only 11 have given me a final feedback survey, but 91% would actually recommend it to a friend. So again, I'm very happy to hear that. Students are valuing all the modules and most of them are completing actually the 5th one, which is officially a bonus module in order to get the credential or this, I should say just this certificate. It's not a credential, but they needed to complete all the 4 lessons and then the quizzes and the discussion posts. So, and then one thing I loved that a student said in this final feedback form was, I had a professor who told us, I don't mind you guys using AI, but I want you to have the book open, your notes and lecture slides along with the AI. And the student again just says, I think that's a better approach. So maybe adding an element like that. So I'm very excited. We've had so many people even get into the course. And are there any questions? And if not, I mean, we can definitely have a little bit more time. And yeah.
Wait, according to you, our lovely moderator, we do have time. So
We have 5 minutes? Okay.
2 minutes. Oh, okay. So we have a day round. All right. Anybody? Questions, comments? Yes.
I really appreciate that. I really have to say I appreciate the artwork too. Something and the students do too. I hear this from students from my kids like, oh, that's AI jump that they did to make slap you to it. I really appreciate that. So I have a question. We'll definitely just go look at it. When the responsible and effective AI use statement, how does the course also include that faculty can still determine how to use it, right? So I mean, I'm a little worried about this possible conflict. Do the students say, well, hey, this course told me it's ethical, but the faculty person says, well, the way it's not, I don't want you to use it in our course for various reasons. I think there are courses that you don't need it, right? Or the big skills that you're trying to learn.
Yes. Can I address this? Because I was very concerned about this. Okay. The first module is on academic integrity, but also on the academic freedom of each professor. So it is very much something I'm very happy to show any professor who's concerned about that question. And one of the questions in the pre-test was, you can never use AI in your course. And then we are then talking about, yes, you might not be able to use it in any course, but each professor does have their academic freedom in their classroom. So I've tried to say that over and over, and I think students are getting that.
If I could just add to, I think also we're very about that it's not a matter of faculty being jerks and saying you can't use it, but like different disciplines have different skills, right? So your discipline might not be conducive to AI by different disciplines, right? Or different structures. So I think just like the wording is important.
Yes, I mean, you are welcome to look at this and just send me your IMPL ID and I would be happy. I'm getting some other instructional designers who are looking at this and maybe going to use it on their campus. But yes, we want to make sure that, I mean, I can't make everybody happy, but I am really wanting to address the fact that, yes, some professors don't want their students thinking it's okay.
I think we'll probably have to wrap it up, but I'm going to be around. Dana is out of state, but you can definitely reach out here with any questions, but I'm here all day. If you have anything that was not clear. So anyway, thank you so much.